Now no purchase of Coca-Cola required. It's Ignorance on college football. Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned in to Ignorance on college football. And I am pretending to be excited as though there were exciting games to be had in week 5 of college football. It is what it is, though, much like this show. My name is Carey. I am the Alabama fan. On the other side of the digital divide from me is Jeremy. He is my brother and an Auburn fan. We are your two ignorant hosts, and we are here to talk about Week 5 of college football, which is a little bit of a letdown considering last weekend had such great matchups. This weekend,
Not so much.
I don't know. Yeah, and
Well,
certainly not as much as we're going to get the week after, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Hey, at least it's college football, right?
Amen, brother.
I mean,
Amen.
this could be July, and we're just sitting there talking about it. So I'll take what it is. Look, some of these games may not look good on paper, but when you're sitting there on Saturday night going, hey, I'm watching college football, there's some decent matchups that I'm looking forward to. So they may not be Alabama, and Auburn may be playing a cupcake, but hey, it's still football. There should still be some good games.
It
Don't
is
knock
still
it.
football. I mean, it's not like we're not going to watch, right? I mean,
Right. You're
we'll
going to
knock
watch.
it, but we'll watch too. Sure.
Okay. So let's just complain about it right now. Let's just complain. Make sure we complain about all the weeks and all the bad games, and then sit down in front of the TV and have 3 channels going.
That's right. That's exactly what I plan on doing, my man. Well,
All right.
it's Friday morning. The only top 25 matchup of the week has already occurred Thursday night, which, since we're recording on Thursday night, we haven't seen, so not much to say there.
I wish we
Jeremy.
could talk intelligently about that one, but
Well, not as
even
though
when,
having seen it will cause us to talk intelligently about
right, I
it.
caught myself after I said that. Even if we know what's happening and we still don't talk intelligently, we do the best we can. So thanks for hanging in there with us.
So, Jeremy, Auburn has a big-time
Yeah.
matchup against Louisiana State Technical. Who are they
Oh
playing?
yeah. Louisiana Tech.
Louisiana Tech.
Don't bash them, Gary. Don't bash them. Don't hate.
I'm not hating, I'm just forgetting.
They're La Tech, Louisiana Tech. They're 2-2. They lost to some crappy team and they lost to Oklahoma. So it's kind of hard to judge how good they are. It's not going to be in jeopardy of losing this game for Auburn, that's for sure. But this will be the 4 o'clock p.m. game on SEC Network. Thank you, SEC Network. Let's just stop for just a second. Since we said this is a crappy week for college football, and let's count our blessings that in July we'd be begging for football.
Yeah.
The SEC Network is a godsend because if I'm not mistaken, every game is going to be played or televised, right?
Yeah, you'll get.
I mean, if you're in your
every
home, if your team is in your home area,
Yeah.
every game for Auburn is going to be televised. Whereas in the past, we would have been having to pay pay-per-view and watching it, some crappy announcers. But thank you for SEC Network. Thank you, Lord.
All right.
That's all I got to say about that.
All right.
At
Praise
least I get to
God's
see
life.
the drumming. Right, I get to see the drumming of La Tech. Auburn's going to whoop them. They're going to whoop them bad. I think the line's 32.5. So either
All right.
way,
Well,
it's
to
a
make
it's a
this game,
homecoming game actually.
yeah. To make this game a little more interesting, Jeremy, I believe I sent you the article that we're going to be talking about. I don't know if you read it or not,
I did.
but one of the things that was interesting about it was this game can have playoff implications because one of the things the playoff selection committee might be looking at is common opponents. And as you mentioned, La Tech also played Oklahoma.
Right.
So what's
Well,
interesting is whether or not Auburn can beat La Tech by more than Oklahoma did.
see, that's just cheesy. That's just going off. All right. Let's start from the beginning. Is Kevin Skarbinski, okay? They're aptly named by the AU Proud guys as Scar Bombs, his editorial pieces. It's an angle. I mean, I guess it's something to talk about. It gives us something to talk about on uh, a week WEAK, a week.
Week,
That
week.
was a Austin Powers moment there. On a week. Anyways, I don't see much. I don't see the selection committee, or looking back at La Tech versus Oklahoma and La Tech versus Auburn and comparing. Well, Oklahoma won whatever it was, 45-16, and Auburn only won 40-20. I mean, the game was in hand for Oklahoma. It doesn't matter. The game's going to be in hand for Auburn. It won't matter. I think it's just something to talk about. Yes. I don't know. Like in the piece, I talked about common opponents like Alabama and Tennessee and Oklahoma and Tennessee. Now that one, I'll give you that. Obviously, that's the stuff they're going to be looking at. But against a crappy opponent, when you blow them out, a blowout's a blowout. And please don't let the selection committee start looking at score differentials on a blowout game. Please. I mean, that's begging you to run the score up on a weak opponent, and that's kind of cheesy.
So what? So let's say that, for the sake of this argument, Oklahoma and Auburn both have one loss, and both are on the cusp of that fourth spot in the playoff.
And they have a common opponent of
They have,
La Tech.
they have two common opponents, but one of them is La Tech. The other one being K-State.
Well, the K-State is a legitimate way to compare them, and maybe you can't because one, Auburn goes on the road and plays K-State. I don't know what Oklahoma, but let's just say that they don't. You can't get an even matchup. Are you really going to go to La Tech and that be the? I don't know. It's kind of crazy. I don't think a blowout game should. A blowout's a blowout. You're going to have to look farther somehow. But it's something to talk about. But no, La Tech and Auburn is not going to have. I would hope it wouldn't have playoff implications.
All right.
Now, in 2004, like we brought up once before even the BCS, that was BCS, yeah. Auburn played Citadel and beat the brakes off of them, but it was Citadel. Now, I don't know. It's a weak opponent. It shouldn't factor in. A weak opponent's a weak opponent. Who cares? What if we played La Tech instead of Citadel and we beat the brakes off of La Tech? Does that change? I mean, I guess in your point system, in the old way, yeah, it does. Come on. A blowout win's a blowout win. Give me a break. Let's talk about the game.
All right. So about the game then, Jeremy.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'm
How do
getting
you
a
how do
little
you
irritated.
expect to get that offense back on track?
Well, let me tell you this in coach speak, Carey. We have to
Oh, no,
do.
don't give me ignorant speak. I don't want to hear
Oh,
coach speak.
well, you go into practice, you do a lot of running, and the coaches make you puke from doing a crappy job of executing from last week
Uh-huh.
because nobody did their assignments correctly, and they really drum it in their heads that you need to play your part because
Right.
nobody did. Um, and I'm sure the coaches are going to figure out. I saw some things about what K-State was doing that gave Nick Marshall some trouble in his zone read. Uh, he thought he was doing the right thing, and obviously he wasn't because they were fooling him. Now that they got that on film and could go, oh yeah, when somebody does this, let's do this. Also, when you go to the air, you need to execute. So hopefully all of our receivers went through like extreme uh, passing drills. Maybe they got in front of that machine and it just chunked balls at them 100 miles an hour until they were bruised. I don't know. They got to be consistent. So it's a well-timed cupcake team for Auburn. It's a good time. We've had some good practices this week. Now we just go out there and beat up on a weak team and just try to
Make
polish
themselves
back up.
feel good.
Well, yeah, I guess a little bit of it is morale, but the rest of it is you just need to go and practice and work on this stuff and then go out in front of your fans and actually show that you know what you're doing and execute it against another team. That's all this game is going to be. And hopefully a lot of work for second stringers and even some third stringers.
So we'll get to see Johnson.
We will get to see Johnson.
Oh,
We're going to see Johnson a lot.
nothing like getting to expose to some Johnson every now and then, right?
To 80,000 fans, yeah.
That's right. Well, okay. Is there anything besides the poor execution from the Kansas State game that you're looking for in this blowout win?
Well, hopefully we'll have SEC officials and not Big 12 officials.
Oh, Lord.
I'm sure there won't be any Big 12 officials there.
Lord.
Well, I mean, there's something to be said about zero penalties, okay?
Only Auburn fans can have sour grapes over a win.
Oh, no, that is no way. With that Alabama hat on, you're actually saying that to me. There's no way. No.
Go on.
We
Go on
need
with your sour
no,
grapes.
no. I was just making fun of the refs. There is something more to be said about it, but the game's over, so I'll let it go. I don't care.
I mean, it's not as though the Big 12 refs have been embroiled in any other controversies this season.
Right. Those are good guys.
Right.
Well, here's what I see, Carey. Just moving forward, I'll make this quick. Obviously, our passing game is a lot more critical this year than it was last year. Last year, we were able to impose our running will on anybody, any team. We could just run on them. And we've lost some pieces to that. Greg Robinson, Jay Prosh. We lost Alex Kozan this year. So, they're having to move some parts around on the offensive line, and it just doesn't do like it used to do. So we're going to have to rely on that passing game, and we can't have a half like we had against K-State, not against a good team. Not that La Tech is, but moving forward, we're going to have something. And I wouldn't be afraid to put Johnson in the game earlier and more often if we have to go to the air and Nick Marshall's not doing it. I don't care if they say it hurts Nick Marshall's feelings or his, he gets rattled because he got pulled. That's what I was telling you about Blake Sims and Jacob Coker. Whatever. I mean, you have to put in whoever's going to help you win, and you don't just ride that same horse, Nick Marshall, if he's not doing it.
That's right. I mean, if Johnson's on top of the game, you just got to ride Johnson.
You just won't let it go, will you? I hear you. Well, Nick Marshall.
I'm going to stroke that Johnson for all it's worth.
The good part about the first half was that a lot of it wasn't Nick Marshall's fault. So there was a lot of drop passes. The second half, they corrected that. Really, the second half of the game really looked like Auburn football. It wasn't pretty even in the second half, but we got it back. I think they're going to be back on top of it. They're going to fix all this stuff. You're going to see a lot of Jeremy Johnson. You may see Jonathan Wallace. I hope to see Rock Thomas. Please, besides kickoff return, please let me see Rock Thomas. The dude is so good. So good. And as a matter of fact, since we're talking about people stepping up, we got receivers that don't catch the ball, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Stanton Truitt. I really want to see Stanton Truitt. He showed some good hands in A-Day, and I'd like to see him play.
All right. Well, what's your final score prediction for this
My
week?
final score prediction is 48-10, Auburn Tigers, all the way.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I think Auburn is going to try and pump themselves up a little bit. I don't see Gus letting off the accelerator on the Gus bus this week. I think they're going to go out there and just score and score and score some more. And so I see this game being a little bit wider margin for Auburn. I see Auburn scoring 56, La Tech 16.
Well, Carrie, I love that. That sounds good. And look, if the equipment guy can go on Amazon and buy up all the stickum they got and spray it on those receiver gloves, and they actually catch the ball like right from the beginning, and both phases are working, the run game and the passing game, it's going to be like that. It's just going to be lights out real quick, and then it's going to be a big time blowout. I could see it being much more than 56. I could see them just even with the third stringers in there, because it's scary good when they're clicking, but they got to click first. That's the problem.
Don't get ahead of your clicks.
Don't get ahead.
All right, well, moving on. Alabama has a bye week this week, which means a chance for our SEC leading quarterback to rest up that bruised shoulder, so he'll be back in form for our game day meetup with Ole Miss in 2 weeks, or in 1 week.
Yeah. Alabama's so good, they don't need no fixing, Carey. Is that right?
That's no. You were talking about execution. We're gonna have to go through the little machine. What keeps you from fumbling the ball?
Yeah, because that's what's worked for y'all in the past with all the fumbling issues.
Yeah, well, we got a new machine.
Oh.
It's got
This is the
pines on the end.
2.0.
That's right.
This is the new and improved.
Right.
Okay.
This is the Fumble Machine Plus.
Oh, the Fumble Machine 3000X. Well,
Right.
hopefully it works for you, Carrie. Y'all got plenty of money. Maybe that zero gravity treadmill that y'all bought that doesn't do anything, maybe y'all could buy a better fumble machine.
Why
I
wouldn't
don't
you
know.
want to tread in 0G?
I don't know.
Why
I don't
wouldn't
know.
you?
It sounds good to me, but I guess if my problem was that my players are fast but they fumble the ball, maybe I could just throw a little money towards something else. That's just me
Oh,
talking. Who am I?
we're throwing, we're throwing some money at it. We're
Oh,
throwing some money at it.
you're throwing money, and they're
Oh
probably
yeah.
going to the players, but not to the
Uh-huh.
machinery. It's okay.
Right. At any rate,
Any rate.
at any rate, I fully expect Blake Sims will get his healing time in, and come next week we will have a chance to see the next Heisman winner in action on the field.
Bo Wallace?
In Ole Miss. Yes, Bo Wallace. Are you picking Bo Wallace to be the next Heisman winner?
No,
Write that
I'm
down.
certainly not picking Bo Wallace.
Heisman winner
No,
says
no.
Wallace.
That was definitely a joke. Definitely a joke.
No, I was joking too. I mean, everybody knows Amari Cooper's going to get it, not Blake Sims, as good as he is.
Okay.
All
Not,
right.
not so sure that it's just a foregone conclusion that it would be going to an Alabama player, but
It is gone and four already.
okay. Well, let's move on.
Let's move on indeed. Well, Jimmy, before we get into some of the other games that are going on around the league, it's time for this week's insane quiz. Are you ready?
Well, I couldn't be more ready, Carrie, because
All
there's
right.
no way to prep for this.
All right, well, Jeremy, since we had a bye week, I decided to look at some of the less X's and O's part of football. Namely, the fact that in the game of college football, there are a lot of players who have some really fantastic names. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out some names, and you have to tell me if it is a college football player or a DC comic book villain.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready?
Man, can I get some backup because my my AU Twitter, whatever he is, I follow a good guy that could help me out, Van Plexico. He writes comic books and stuff. So can I get
I
him on
don't
the line real quick?
know. What does this look like? Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You don't get any lifelines.
Okay. Well then let's hit me up.
All right. So this first one should be a no-brainer. This one should be easy for you.
Okay.
Gimel President.
Oh yeah, that's easy. He's a good guy. If he was in a comic book, he'd be the good guy. Give him president. He's an Auburn player.
That's right. Defensive lineman for Auburn. Okay.
Yes.
There you have it.
Heck yeah. That's one.
Here's your second one. Solomon Grundy.
Oh God. Solomon Grundy. Um, I'm gonna say comic book. Are they all villains? Did you say?
All villains.
Solomon Grundy. That sounds kind of villainish. Villainish.
Villainius.
Villainious. I'm going villain.
Yes, it's a villain. It is a Superman villain who is undead.
Undead.
That's right. Loosely based off of the poem Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday, died on a Tuesday. Anyhow, here's your third.
Okay.
Maxie Zeus.
Maxie Zeus. That sounds way too obvious as a villain, so I'm going a player.
It's a Batman villain.
Well, that sounded way too obvious. Okay, that sounds just like a villain, so
All right.
I was overthinking that one.
Here's number 4. Money Hunter.
Money Hunter. Well, I've known quite a few of them, and they were real. Let's go with a football player.
Yes, defensive back for Arkansas State.
Money Hunter.
Money Hunter.
Okay.
Excuse me. Bruno Mannheim.
Bruno Mannheim. I'm gonna go villain.
He's a gangster in the city of Metropolis.
Look at me.
All right. Feora Hui.
Can you spell that?
Feora That's the first name. Feora. HU dash U. Oh, that may be UL. Huul. HU dash UL, I think maybe. Feora Huul.
Well, Feora Huul sounds like that's a real college football player.
He's a Kryptonian martial artist.
Jeez. Okay.
All right, here we go. You're
Okay.
still doing good. More
Well,
right.
okay. You can't get them all.
Macadius Bane.
Bane?
Macadius Bane.
I'm gonna have to say comic book.
Defensive tackle, LSU.
Jeez. Well, he's got a great name. He actually
Definitely.
has a comic book villain's name. I mean, if Bane's first name was Macadius,
It should be if it's not.
it should be Macadius
Bane.
Bane. It's
All right, here we go.
Macadius Bane.
Blaze Rider.
Blaze Rider. I don't know. These should all be villains. These are all great names. Blaze Rider.
Blaze Rider.
It sounds like a zombie cowboy, villain cowboy. Blaze Rider.
Offensive lineman, Navy.
Okay, I'm terrible at this game.
All right, you've got 2 more. Let's see how you do. Oh,
Okay,
let's
this is
see.
gonna be a good comeback right here.
Well, now you're evened up right now. 4, and 4 against. So I'm gonna
Okay.
give you one. I'll give you one more, and then that'll be how you end it. Okay?
Okay.
You ready? Jasmar Clax.
Jasmar Jasmar Clax.
Jasmar Clax.
Jasmar Clax. I could say a lot of things right now, but I'm just going to stop and say that's a real person.
Running back, Connecticut. Yay!
Boom!
Jeremy wins the insane quiz.
Ding, 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 ding. All right. Jasmar Clax.
Jasmar Clax.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, well done, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well,
All right.
let's move
I'm
on.
ready to move on. Yeah, you just want to mute that microphone when you do that
I didn't
cough.
get a chance.
Okay.
So in the SEC this weekend, we have a game that used to be one of the premier showdowns of the conference. Is now a 12 o'clock game on ESPN. Of course, I mean Tennessee visiting Georgia. Georgia is a 17-point favorite in this game. Do you see any reason why Georgia won't cover?
I really don't. You know, they talked about the analyst on ESPN talked before the Oklahoma game about how young Tennessee was, and that's basically just all there is to say about Tennessee. Uh, they are just young. I mean, they're playing better football than they have in the past, which isn't saying a whole lot, but they are getting better. You know, other than just freaky college football, the way it works, and especially in the SEC, where it did it last year a little bit, where teams that shouldn't win just they get that one win against somebody they shouldn't, unless there's just some crazy stuff like that. I don't see it happening. Um, but really, it's going to come down to hopefully, and I don't know why I say hopefully because I don't care. Georgia's one of my most hated teams, but if Tennessee, you know, they just bounce back after that loss and really play a good game, and if Mark Rick were to keep doing stuff fancy, or Mike Bobo, I should say, keeps playing fancy schmancy play calling instead of just feeding Todd Gurley the whole game, especially if you're first and goal and you don't give it to Todd Gurley, I can see them losing. I can see them losing. But hopefully they learn their lesson and Mark Rick won't lose his job immediately. So just do what you do, Georgia. Stick to your bread and butter. And I say Georgia 31-14.
31-14, which actually is not a cover since that's 17 points, right?
Yeah. I don't look for Georgia to cover.
Okay. Jeremy, I think Georgia feels like they need to make some statement wins the rest of the way. I think Georgia does hand the ball to Gurley early and often. Gurley early.
Yeah, you got extra points for that.
Early. And often, I think Georgia pounds this one out on the ground. They barely even go to the air, and still they rack up some points. Tennessee's athleticism gives them a few points on the other side, but Georgia does cover by 1 point, 35-17.
I hear you. I can go with that. At least we're looking at the same way. I don't care about the point spreads.
Right.
I don't have any money to even bet.
Elsewhere in the SEC, an Arkansas team that's been getting quite a bit of hype after having lost their initial game to Auburn goes into College Station to face number 6 Texas A&M as a 9-point underdog. How does this
Right.
game feel to you? It's got a 71.5 over-under.
It must have moved. It was 9.5. Not that half point really matters unless you're betting, which, like I just told you, I'm not. Arkansas, a lot of people are talking about Arkansas in their run game, but look at who they've played outside of Auburn. You know, they racked up some really good yards on Auburn in the first half, but then they were shut down to 2 yards in the in the second half of that game.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, yeah, they come out with something surprising or whatever it was that caught Auburn off guard, but against real competition, like the second half was shut down completely. And they've played crappy teams since then, and yeah, they've racked up yards because they have talented running backs. But against Texas A&M, I don't see them doing all that kind of damage.
Yeah, I have to say that I agree with you. I mean, we'll know more about Arkansas and maybe Texas A&M. But if you remember in the South Carolina game, it was the Texas A&M defense that was the most surprising in that affair, really holding South Carolina under what we were expecting on the offensive side of the ball. I'm really interested to see how this game plays out. I think it should be one of the more intriguing games, even if I think it doesn't end up being a close game score-wise.
Oh,
And
I
if you,
think it's going to be a close game score-wise, Gary.
oh, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I was just telling you about how I'm not deceived by Arkansas's their run stats necessarily. I'm not saying that they're not going to put up some yards, but I'm also saying let's keep our expectations tempered since they played some crappy teams. Let's just do
Right.
that.
Okay.
Um, not South Carolina. Texas A&M beat South Carolina. They beat them pretty handily, but ever since then they've played some cupcakes. So South Carolina may have not been hitting on anything to start with, and Texas A&M may be a little bit too hyped. But this is the way I'm going to put it to you, because Burt has had his fill with these hurry-up teams, and he's sick and tired of it. He's had his fill, and it takes a lot to fill Burt. I don't know if you knew.
Yeah, he can put a lot down, huh?
Right. Well, there's people who are putting Texas A&M even in the top four. Some people in ESPN have put Texas A&M in their, top four selection committee deal. I don't think so. No, sir. This one's going to be close. I think the Hogs you may see some running game out of the Hogs in this one because Texas A&M defense, I don't think is what it's cracked up to be. I think they had a really good game against South Carolina. But you know what? Let's go ahead and do it. Give me the sounder.
What?
Yeah, give me the sounder. I'm doing it right now. Oh, he's fed up with it.
And now it's time for bold predictions.
I'm saying Bert is fed slap up with this not winning any SEC games, being run all over by hurry up no huddle teams. He puts his foot down on Kevin Sumlin and the Aggies, and they win 34-31.
Woo, doggy. Jeremy decides it's time to go big on a bold prediction.
Yes, sir.
I think Jeremy's feeling it for old Bert going
Yeah,
over
Bert
on his
texted
bold
me.
predictions.
Bert texted me. I had to console him a little bit, but he's all right. He's going to do it. This is his week for doing it. I don't like him as a person, but as a coach in the SEC, I love him because he gives us stuff to talk about, and he's really fun to mock. So,
Jeremy, I think the only way Texas A&M doesn't walk through this game is if they're looking ahead to their October 4th showdown with Dak Prescott and the Mississippi State Clangers.
right.
I really do think it's probably close during the first half, maybe even into the third quarter as Arkansas pounds the ball on Texas A&M. However, as A&M starts to pull away, Arkansas will have to go to the air, and that is where they make their mistakes, and A&M clamps down on them. I think A&M wins this game 35-24.
You just come up with that score right now, didn't you?
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's why you slowed way down, and I'm thinking
That's
out
drama.
loud.
People don't
Yep.
know what I'm going to say.
Right. It's like cliffhangers, dramatic pauses. I do a lot of those. Most of the people just say you just don't know how to speak. So, It's really bad when you have a podcast. But anyways, let's move on to the Missouri and see what I'm doing. Let's move on to the Missouri and South Carolina game.
Missouri and South Carolina in Columbia, with South Carolina as a scant 5-point favorite. I find this a little strange. I have not seen anything from either of these teams to make me think that South Carolina is not just going to go hog wild and win by quite a bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I think South.
You do realize that the best win Missouri has had so far is against UCF.
Yeah, I do.
And they lost to Indiana.
Well, hey, ESPN thinks there's something to it because they got them on 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Prime time.
What they have on. It's a horrible weekend for games.
We've covered this. It's a horrible weekend. It's so bad. This is what you should have said at the beginning. It's so bad. Missouri and South Carolina are on primetime ESPN. Exactly. Now, if you want to still watch, this is how bad the week is. Well, either way, yeah, you're right. Missouri's not good. They lost to Indiana. That defense that Missouri had was pretty bad last year. It's really, really, really bad this year.
Yeah.
I think Dylan Thompson, I think South Carolina's just going to carve Missouri up.
I know we all point at how difficult a time they had putting Vanderbilt away. But as we've all seen, that could happen to almost any team on any Saturday.
That was special teams.
That's right. Yeah, you did say that in the recap. You know, their win at East Carolina and their win at Georgia look much more impressive now.
Mm-hmm. They at least have a better body of work, and Missouri's is not very good.
Right on. I think South Carolina is just gonna. I think they're gonna take this one away. You know, they've put up some good numbers, some decent numbers on offense. Their defense is really the problem for them. Ranking near last in passing defense in the entire country. So that's really the one area. But I do think they can score some points. I think South Carolina wins this game 42 to Missouri 32.
Ooh, 42-32. I've got South Carolina 45-21.
45-21.
Yep. I think we're both on the same page. Missouri can still score points, even though they're going to give up a lot.
Yeah. I think Missouri will score some, especially if they throw the ball. Sling the ball around.
Right.
Well, let's see. Any other games of interest that you want to talk about?
I'm not interested.
You're not?
I'm not interested. Look, this was the best we could come up with was these games. You know, talk about Auburn and Alabama in these crappy games, and that's pretty much it. The best game is actually on right now while we're speaking, so.
Well, it comes on a little bit later, right?
I don't know.
10 o'clock Eastern.
Oh, yeah, that's right. This was the 10 o'clock game that nobody's going to stay up for.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy, I still have a bold prediction to make.
Oh, lay it on us.
Are you ready for it, man?
Oh, buddy, I was born ready for it.
You're born ready for it? Here we go.
And now it's time for bold predictions.
Jeremy, I'm telling you right here and right now, the horseshoe just isn't the place it used to be. Unranked Cincinnati, a 17-point dog, goes into Ohio State University, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the Big Ten S14 network, and wins the game outright, throwing Ohio State to 2-2, and Urban Meyer into his second unexplained illness from which he needs to retire.
That's so wrong. That is so wrong. It's almost as wrong as your prediction. But look, you tried to top my bold prediction. Arkansas Now you're going with Cincinnati. Look, I'm all for.
Cincinnati.
Look, I'm all for the Tubs. I'm all for the Tubs going in there and taking out Ohio State. I'm with you. I will pull for Cincinnati. I'm all for it. But that is very, very, very bold. I don't see it happening, but good luck with it.
You like it, don't you?
I do. I like it.
I'm going to say this game is Cincinnati 28 and Ohio State University 27.
Wow. Wow. The old school defensive game.
28-27 is an old school defensive
It
game.
is, man. Yeah. 28-27 is.
Whatever happened to 3-2 Auburn, Mississippi State, huh?
Yeah. That was crazy even back then. But yeah. Scoring in the 20s is almost, I don't know. That's something we should look up.
What, the average score?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The average
that's something for you to
cumulative
look up.
score, because I mean we know over the last couple of years it's risen pretty good. But either way, yeah, 28-27. If you're in the 20s, I just don't think you've done very much on offense. I don't know why. I guess that's just the mindset we're in now, or I am. I'll speak for myself.
Well, Jeremy, I think it's time for you and I to buy a six-pack of Coca-Colas, take your friend, and go see a Michigan game this weekend.
Okay.
No, not so much. It is a bit of a drive, isn't it? Anyhow, maybe instead we'll sit at home and watch some of the crappy games this weekend. Well, you've been listening to a crappy podcast of ignorance on college football. Don't blame us, blame the athletic directors. In the meantime, you can give us a shout on the Twitter feed. We'd love to hear from you and mock you. That's about the only thing we know how to do. How would they contact us on the Twitters, Jeremy?
Well, Carey, they could contact you personally at CareyHead, or contact me personally at AUGerm, but please don't do either one of those. Contact us at Ignorant Talk. That's just a joke. You can contact either one of us. If it's Alabama, send it to him. If it's Auburn, send it to me.
Right on.
If
Or you
it's
can
hate mail.
What?
Yeah, hate mail, send it to somebody else.
Speaking of hate mail, if they wanted to send us an email, where would they send that email, Jeremy?
Talk at igno-rants.com.
And as always, be sure to download the V Sporto app of your choice for most of you. That would be Bama Sports Radio. And for those of you who still think hiring Kiffin was a bad idea, download War Eagle Sports Radio. Until Monday morning, when you can hear our recap of all the weekend's terrible, terrible action, I'm Carey Head. That's Jeremy Head. And remember, roll Tide!
And War Eagle.
Dang it, I always forget this part.
Dang it. Somebody had to put a train right here. Yay. Y'all just a bunch of losers.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
And